right, here we go. We're going to go ahead and make this truss really simple in Inventor, but we're going to start with the starter gusset. First thing I want you to notice is don't start a new sketch, edit the existing sketch. So we edit that sketch, we go into the sketch, and one of the keys is you've got to make sure your truss is long enough, okay? But first I'm going to delete these two lines here, okay? Clearly I'm going to delete these two lines. And I want you to notice also that if you dimension this, the distance from here down to this line is going to be 1/8 of an inch, okay? That is the maximum thickness of any member thickness you can have. You can make the numbers thinner than that, but no thicker, okay? And we know that this bottom line needs to be 5 inches long. So we can come in here and we can just come to the end of it and go out here. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of that bottom line. I'm just going to draw a line down here that's 5 inches long. So I'm going to make that 5 inches. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do coincident this point here at the origin with the midpoint of this line. And then that will snap it so that it's right in the middle. Okay. Now that's 5 inches long. I don't want to be any thinner than that, because if I'm any thinner than that, I might not be quite long enough to rest on the two beams. So maybe really what I make that is like 5.1 if you want, or I think just leaving it at 5 is probably okay. All right, so then I go back to my 2D solids. I think of what this is going to look like. Okay, I come back into Inventor. I start drawing my shape here. Okay, so I come up, and really before I start drawing my shape, what I want to do is I want to put points in. So I'm going to put a point in up here. I'm going to put a point in up here. Okay, and I'm going to dimension them to the right spots. So from this midpoint, this dimension is the 1.25. So it's half of that. And then from the height of it, going to be 3 according to my thing, and then for this is going to be 3, and again 1.25 from middle horizontally. Okay, 1.25. All right, now I'm going to draw my lines in. I come out to the end of my truss, I go to that point, I go to this point, I come down to this point, and then now you really got to decide, do you want to go to this center point? Do you want to come all the way down to here? Do you want to do some point in here? This is where you have to decide, how do you want these members to go? Because in MD solids, they're coming down to this exact bottom point, but we have a circle right here on our Inventor model, okay? And so most people probably want to go down in here somewhere. So I'm just going to come down to here and then stop there and then go back up to here. And then I might, if you want, you could like locate where this point is. Right, you could just dimension this spot here to be 2.5 from there, which it is, that's good. And maybe from here, it's, 1/8 of an inch up, and then it's in its spot, okay? Now, this starter gusset, you cannot get rid of the outside of this, right? And you need to start offsetting these things. So then now I could bring my lines, I could extend this out to here, right? Now, at this point, honestly, what a lot of people do is this. They go offset. So you come up here to the offset tool, and maybe you offset this in like that, right? And honestly, when I did that offset, I probably should have, I just undid it. So I'm going to delete that line that I had made. I'm going to offset this. And when I offset this in, I'm going to offset it 0.125. It makes it go in 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to offset this in 0.125 and offset this in 0.125, right? Now, if you're like, oh, but wait, I wanted this to be the center of my line, then instead of making this 0.125 for this last offset, I should have made this 0.125 divided by 2, and then you also offset it the other way and do 0.125 divided by 2. Okay. Now you come in and you can just start deleting or trimming things. So we can delete this, or we can just get rid of its visibility potentially. So we stop offsetting. We could delete this line, right? We could delete, and then we can delete this line too. And then now we can come in and we can just trim a whole bunch of stuff. So trim, 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 right? And I zoom in, I trim this because this is an intersection here, right? Okay. And then now I come down here and I need to trim this stuff on the inside, obviously. Okay. Need to trim those. But again, I got to keep the outside of my starter gusset there. Okay. We got to keep that gusset shape in there, okay? And then these are lines that got created because of the offset, and then I need to trim that, of course. And then you've got a basic truss. You do some more trimming and things like that. So those are some basic ways to do it. There are other ways to do it, of course, but that would be one way to do it with the offset tool and the lines. Again, you've got to make sure that this is